Hi besties, welcome back to my channel. It's a girl's tales based here in Ontario, Canada. Okay, I don't know how to behave because first of all, my environment is bright. You know, when I film from my house in Nigeria, it's not as bright. Second of all, I have a new mic. Oh my god. I don't have to shout at the top of my voice when I'm making videos anymore. And I'm in Canada. Like, what's not to be excited about this movement? Like, God has been gracious, God has been faithful, and the reason I'm doing this video is because I watched a lot of these videos and they helped me, So who am I not to contribute to the quota? People are looking for ways, the various pathways, and who am I not to destination? I did not make any, you know, kind of error in this process. I did not use any agent. This is a DIY project. So I and my husband were very hands-on and diligent in doing this. And one of the reasons we, excelled in everything we did was because there were people who had gone through this process and documented their process either on Nairaland, either on YouTube, on Facebook. Kuber is on Facebook to guide you. There are Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups where you can ask questions. So in any way I can help anybody profile any kind of information that is relevant, I always find myself doing it. So here I am to do that. So if you're good to get such information and you just want to know the process I used to relocate myself and my family, to stay tuned. So what we did was the federal skilled workers. Um, so how we started was we evaluated our result with West, and how it works is you contact West, you do your registration with them, you go to their website. If you're going to Canada, ensure that it's a Canadian website you go to. You go to West Canada, do your registration with them. They will generate a reference number for you, which you now take to your school and tell your school that, okay, if you have, and you have to evaluate only your highest degree. There was a time you have to evaluate each of the degrees you have, but now it's only your highest degree. If you have a master's or a BSc, you evaluate your highest degree. So you go to your school with a reference number and tell them that, okay, you want your results sent to West, which is a body for evaluation of results. So they'll send it to West. After West receives your transcripts, while you're doing your registration with West, you also include your certificate, not your statement of result now, your certificate. So they would review your transcript and now evaluate it, and send it to the school. They'll send a letter to school to confirm that, okay, this information you sent to us, is it from you? They have seen several instances whereby, people send fraudulent documents to them to evaluate. So they will definitely now reach out to the school to confirm if it was from the school. So when the school now confirms, they would generate a report saying that your BSc in Nigeria is equivalent to a BSc in Canada. That's all what they do, just to ensure that the credentials you're submitting are accurate and it's the same qualification. So that's what West does. So we did that. My husband's own took less than 2 weeks because he schooled outside Nigeria. But me, I schooled in I did a master's in ASUD Business School, Enugu State University of Science and Technology. It took close to 3 months. And it was because I even eventually had to call the registrar of the school. I got his number eventually, and he helped to look into it. And that is why it was responded Ielts. So I had my international passport. My husband was trying to renew his. So I wrote my IELTS first, and I had a 7.5. I was aiming to get an 8, but there was this part of the region that had diagrams or whatnot. It just messed me up. I'm not so good with maps. Even here in Canada, if you want to survive and you don't have a car, you need to be familiar with Google Maps. So it's tough for me, but I believe that I will get a hang of it. So they had so many maps on that particular section of the IELTS. So you have the reading, you have the writing, you have the speaking, and you have the listening. I'll just give you tips on each of it. If you're doing the writing and you want to write essays and all, please do the one that has the longer numbers. For example, if you say, okay, write an essay with 1,000 words and they are asked to write a letter with 300 words, do the first one. Do the one that has the one that has longer words, just because the time is usually short. So that is the tip I'll give on that. And your writing also include things like hyperbole, similes, all those, personification, all those kind of what do you call it? I forgot what they call it though. I know I read in depth into it, but um, and avoid repeated words. Like for example, you're giving a sentence and you're using and more than once. Avoid it. Um, what else can I say? Just try and be calculated. Write a lot of letters before your exam date. Write a lot of essays before you read a lot of books before your exam date as well. For your listening, um, ensure your mic is working. Is it your mic, your headphone is working properly? Even if you're hearing the tiniest of screech, complain to the instructor that you need these earphones changed, because that thing messed a lot of people up on the exam day. They just felt like they could manage it, but when the recording started playing, they couldn't even hear properly, and nothing could have been done again. So it took their time, and then for the reading, read the one that has the most comprehension. There are some short comprehensions and there are some large comprehensions. Read the one that has more comprehension than the smaller one, so that and I will also advise you read the questions before you read the comprehension, because while you're reading the question and you're reading the comprehension, you're already seeing the answers from it. So that's the tip I can give for that. Therefore, speaking, don't rush, be coherent. um I was so fortunate because I speak very fast. So the lady that was interacting with me was just telling me to calm down. Was just telling me to calm down. So be coherent. I had a 7.5. I wish I would have had an 8 if I wasn't as fast. So be coherent. And yeah, avoid repetitive words. um Avoid grammatical blunders. You don't even want to start with that, because in speaking, they're not looking at your spelling, they're looking at the usage of the words in the sentence. So if you're not sure of a particular grammar, don't go and blow it. You need to understand the meaning of what you're saying. Yeah. So that's for the IELTS. And a month after, my husband renewed his international passport and also wrote his IELTS, and he had an 8. Then after we did that, we didn't even okay, no, I now created an express entry profile before my husband wrote his IELTS, because we were told that I can enter first, then add him later. I can add his own IELTS later, because, and I thank God we did that, because I'll explain further. The faster you get into the pool, the better your chances, because if there's a draw, because it's a point-based system, if there's a draw, there's a tie-breaking rule that whoever enters first, for example, if they do a draw of 500, for example, you have 500, I have 500, and there's just one spot left. But if I had entered the pool before you, I'll be I'll be taken before you. So at any time you've written your IELTS and evaluated your results, just enter the pool. Even if your POF is not complete, even if your spouse has not written IELTS, even if, just as long as you have your IELTS and your WES, just jump inside that pool, just enter inside that pool. That's the tip I can give. So that's the tip I can give for that. Then I created an express entry profile. And if you're creating an express entry profile, be consistent. If you're asked a question here, ensure that I had a book. I always have a book. So every question I was taking, I was writing it down. I know I don't know, it takes patience to do these things, because I don't like to be wrong in any way. So that when I'm asked that question repeatedly, I am not lying. I'm not saying something that is not, in the previous answers I gave. So they look at coherency, consistency, and all that. So after you've opened your profile, if you're a single applicant and you're not adding any other person, um, you'll ask you your work experience and all, and you'll be told whether you're eligible. We sent a mail, and all that, and you'll be put in the pool of other applicants. So we're in that pool throughout the whole of 2021, and nothing happened. I told you this 2020, that's when we decided to write the IELTS and evaluate the results. So 2021, we created a profile, and we're in that pool. Nothing happened. As far as I've written, just enter with whatever score you even if you plan to remark your IELTS, just enter first. So back to what I was saying, back to the story. So we waited the whole of 2021. They were doing draw. They didn't do any federal skill worker draw, but they were doing provincial draws and CEC draw. That's for people, students already in Canada. We were like, hey, now what's going on? And I'm already above 30. So once you clock an age -5, once you clock another age -6. So the score we had was just dropping. I said, God, I prayed intensely and I said, God, you need to make a way because there's nothing else we can do. We've done all the things we are expected to do. It's just for a miracle to happen, and for them to even start the draw. So in February 2022, there was still no federal skill draw. I was chatting with a friend, Favor. Big ups to you. I hope you watch this video. So, and she was like, okay, before I chatted with Favor, I was chatting with Mildred and some other people, some of my friends, and I was like, they're like, how far your Canada stuff? I was like, we're still in the pool, though. No draw yet. And somebody now asked me that what's my NOC? NOC is the number that represents the job you put into the application. So I told them that banking and financial institution, they were like, now wait, so some other provinces are selecting bankers, but not with this NOC. They're selecting bankers based on them being investment bankers. I was like, of course I have investment banking, you know, classification because I've been a marketer for 6 years. And she was like, why not change it? So I went ahead and changed it, and I just left it like that. I didn't think too much of it. And even while I was changing it, I applied to some other provinces. I applied to Saskatchewan and I applied to, was it Nova Scotia or New Brunswick? They were just two provinces that were free at the time. And I applied to them and I didn't get a feedback from them. So I didn't even think of Ontario. But when I was taking the applications, they said, do you want to be open for provincial nomination to different provinces? I just ticked all the provinces. Anyone that wants me, let them select me. If I hadn't ticked all that, Ontario wouldn't have selected me as a provincial nominee. So I changed my NOC from 6734 thereabout to 0122 as at then. And I was chatting with a friend, Favor, like I said, and she was telling me that's why it's good to be open sometimes. Don't just be closed minded. And she was like, that what NOC did I even use for this? And I told her 0122. She was like, yeah, but they selected some people about 2 weeks back that I should check my profile if there's any mail or I said, well, let me check my email address. I checked my email. I did not receive any mail from Ontario. She said, oh, check your profile. Lo and behold, this letter was sent to my profile 22nd of February. Do you know when I saw it? I saw this 15th of March and I had 30 days to submit this application to accept the nomination or not to accept. Sorry, not the nomination, the notice of interest. So, notice of interest is if the province indicates interest in your career that they want such professionals, you now, if it's free, you go ahead and apply. If you have to pay a fee, you apply, then pay the fee to the province for them to now know. Um, I checked my profile and I saw this thing. I saw this letter of notice of interest. I was like, is a lie. When did this letter enter my box? 22nd of February. And I realized that since February, I have not received an email in my Gmail, but I only received emails in my Yahoo, not knowing that my mailbox was full. So if not for Favor in my life, the 30 days would have expired and I wouldn't have responded to Ontario. So I saw it immediately. I messaged. I was like, Favor, guess what? She was like, what? I was like, it's there. She was like, it's not true. I was like, God, I'm swear. I screenshotted it and sent to her like, you're a God sent. Like the favor of God is actually in your life. You know, so that the favor of God is your life, and you too, you definitely come to this Canada. So she was like, I was like, oh, but the money plenty, because if you convert it to naira, the money you're supposed to pay as the application fee is close to 1 point something million. I was like, my person will go on the hot. She was like, babe, you better pay this thing because from my research, I have not really seen anybody that was denied the provincial nomination after making that payment, except your documents are falsified, except you did not even do something right. So, but if everything is okay, so I began gathering documents, statement of accounts, the POF, everything, and we paid the money. My husband and I paid the sum, and we were told that this process takes at least it takes 90 days, 60 to 90 days, you get your provincial nomination. We submitted in March and we didn't hear anything again till August, September. I'm telling you, was always checking my profile. I would check my profile because there are different stages. It moved from assessment to DIP. I was checking on the Telegram group, always asking people, please, where have your own moved to? You know. So we finally got the nomination and we applied for um we accepted the nomination, the 600 points, and we're now waiting for ITA. We received the 600 points today. The next day was a draw, and because of our score was already high, so we were actually called and given an invitation to apply. So we got the ITA and started applying for PPR. Um, Apply for PPR is you apply when that invitation to apply is ITA. So we got that, sent in all the same documents we sent into Ontario. We sent our reference, back statements, everything, and in it took time as well. It took a period of time, but about 2 months thereabout, we got our PPR. There are some people that after getting ITA, it takes them like 6 months, 8 months. There's some people that I know from 2021 that are still yet to get their PPR. Their document has been moved from review to from one visa office to another visa office. But I just want to thank God because it's not by our intelligence, it's not by our smartness, it's just His grace. So I want to give you tips on submitting documents for your ITA awaiting PPR. I just want to say things that look when you're submitting your resume, your reference, look at the job description on what is on the NOC because there are several instances whereby you're saying you're a sales and marketing officer and the NOC you're selecting is a sales and marketing manager. Being an officer and a manager are two different things. If you select manager, you should be able to supervise in your resume or reference. You should be able to state that you supervise or you monitor or you evaluate. Being a manager, you should know the attributes of being a manager. If you're selecting a supervisor, you should know the attributes of being a supervisor. So all of this should, because there are several situations whereby they reject it and say, oh, that your NOC does not, your reference or your resume does not match the NOC selected, hence, declined. That's one. Then two, just leave your POF. Don't mess with it. If the POF is your account, don't say, oh, let me just leave it. You can just do some in and out once in a while, so at least they'll see that the account is active. But don't just go and remove a bulk sum. Just leave it there. Leave it there, except it's a gift deed. That's another thing. As in, I think that sped up our process. That's what I think. Then also, we had an additional document request because my husband he schooled outside the country, so we needed to get a police report for him from that country. So it took a we did a very detailed letter of explanation stating with documents to prove that we applied for it. So don't leave anything to second chances to say, oh, okay, whenever they request for it, we'll provide it. If you know there's something you're supposed to provide and you don't have it at the moment, do a letter of explanation. State the reasons why you don't have it at the moment. State efforts you've made. Because even while we're sending mails to be submitted through the embassy here, the request for the police report, we submitted to the embassy. The mails we sent to the embassy, the amount we paid for the police report, the correspondences between, even the acknowledgement of the documents we sent to the embassy. We put everything up and attached it together with LOE. That's a letter of explanation. So any document you don't have as at when you're submitting for your PPR your ITA, please do a detailed letter. Don't just write anything flimsy. Make it detailed, make it worded. Let them see and also show that you're credible. Put in that letter that you're credible, you have good standing, you did not commit any. Do you understand? If it's a police report, let them know that you're an individual with good standing, that while you're in that country, you do not have any uh, engagement with the law and enforcement unit. You didn't have any involvement with any criminal activity. State it there. So let them take your word first before you can now eventually provide a document to say, okay, that what you said is true. So we did that and kept our fingers crossed. A lot of people were like, you cannot submit without police report from another country, that they take it very serious. So if you don't submit, you'll not pass eligibility. People are just, trying to weigh us down. But guess what? We were not way down. We submitted all the evidences we had for the application and we got an ADR. And some people, when they get an ADR, an additional document request, they're given like maybe 8 days or 12 days to submit. But guess what? We're giving 60 days. So ridiculous, right? Like God has a way of settling his people. So we're given a long period of time to submit, and as we got that ADR, a week later the report came, and police report came, and we're so swift to submit. So yes, like I said, ensure that all your documents are consistent. Information is consistent because, for example, if you're coming through a provincial nomination, ensure the documents and the information you provided to the province is the same document and information you're providing to the government of Canada. Because if there's a discrepancy, maybe you're trying to just cover one or two, maybe because don't try it. Any work you cannot get reference for and you're not claiming points for, please do not include it. Because if you include it and the request for the reference and you don't have it is a problem. Any job that is not that, maybe for example NYSC or something has to do with paramilitary, do not include it there, to be honest, because it's not worth it. You have to provide explanations and whatnot. So after we got our PPR, we decided to send our passports for stamping. There are various countries you can send for. You sent to London, sent to Accra, sent to Kenya. We sent to Accra, and in less than a month we got our passports back immediately. We had already booked our flight, and yeah, we are in Canada. So if you have questions about the process, I know it might not really be coherent because you don't really know the all this PPR, COPR, all these things I'm saying. But if you have questions, slide into my DM and I'll be willing to respond to you. I just want to give a breakdown of the duration and what we've done and what we did to get into Canada. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. My name remains Stels. Bye bye.